The Outer Worlds on Xbox One X. So what we're getting here is a push towards a 4K resolution, no HDR support. This is the title that debuted on Xbox Game Pass, and it is absolutely wonderful. So what happened is the game doesn't have really a continue or a new game plus, which is a bit weird. So I have to go to this part of the game, which is very late in it, story-wise. It's got a fairly good narrative to it in terms of length, but the more you get out of it is basically you going out and exploring. So we'll probably have to go to the beginning of the game with a new character to show off some of the world and stuff like that. So with it, this is an RPG experience. You have a character, and you kind of pick certain, elements of their strength, their intelligence, their charm, similar to Fallout. So it's basically like Fallout in space. And then as you progress, you get to pick new skills, new levels. You get to unlock special perks. And you also see that kind of being mirrored in your companion. If you have a companion, there's a couple different companion options, and you give them armor and weapons too, which is kind of really cool. And then you've got inventory, and things degrade and break over time, and then you can make like concoctions of your health that you can suck in as you're battling. There's modifications for weapons, there's tons of different tools, different skills, quest objects, cool little hidden things, lots of quests going on here. We've got an extensive map that's really well done. And yeah, don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything, but we're going to go over here and just show off a little bit of the combat and stuff of the later game, because this is what I want to show off on a really cool world called Monarch. And yeah, so we're in like a shroud, which makes us not detectable to enemies. So we're going to jump into combat here just because. So I also have some psychological effects going on due to the fact that, I've built up my character in a certain way. I've done a lot of certain charm and stuff. Oh, and you can die pretty fast too, which is really exciting. As I was saying, combat kind of intense and sort of neat too. There's some really neat abilities. You get a selection of quick select weapons that you can pull out. Lots of different guns, different choices, different melee things, and you can kind of build the character class to be however you want. There's also this really cool time ability, so you can slow down time in order to get criticals going off, and you can improve that over time. You kind of blind enemies, hurt them, and yeah, generally some really interesting mechanics in this one. Just in regards to how you manage your party and everything like that, I think it's really quite well done. They give you just unlimited choice, not only in what you do, but how you handle situations and the dialogue involved. There's great character development. You can do like little side missions all over this little solar system that's really quite developed. And there's just really quite a lot of content to this one. I was very pleasantly surprised by it, and it's just a really great game. But we're going to go to the start of the game. So here is the start of the game. So this is actually really good, because this is going to give you an idea of where things kind of start out, and so you can actually see a beautiful world within the game. I wanted to show off Monarch, as I believe I mentioned, as that world really is lovely, filled with wildlife, but this planet is also just as good, and it's a good spot to kind of show you some of the choices that are present. So this game is all about making choices and decisions, how you want to do things, and you can do things however you'd like to. There's no rules binding it, and while some decisions are final and big, it's kind of great that you get to play this game that's got a witty sense of humor, a lot of fun action to it, and some really neat elements of play that truly make it a remarkable experience. And again, you're going to get more out of it if you take the time to really go out there, do the side quests, meet people, explore, enjoy the world however you'd like it to be. So here's a good sense of a choice. So, you kind of talk to this guy, you can patch him up if you want. You have different skills, so the different skills allow you to do different things. Like, I really focused in my main character on dialogue, and I was able to just chat my way through the game. I did lighter combat because I could just kind of sneak around and talk to people. There's also stealth, you can pick locks. You can do all kinds of things. So I said I'd help this guy, I can blow these up, or I can just shoot him, and then I can take all his stuff. And that might come as a penalty later on, but you can really do whatever you'd like in this one. And it's just an absolute treat to have a game that's this free. Again, it's basically Fallout in space, and a good version of Fallout. They absolutely knock it out of the park. Oh, cool. So this is another part of the gameplay that's really cool. So this is a core element. We mentioned the the time dilation earlier, so you go all slow motion stuff. But with windows like that, because it is a sort of fault or something like that, these pop up from time to time. So you can actually choose your faults. So some faults will come up and be like, oh, and all of a sudden you're kind of scared of robots or something like that. And you can gain a perk by allowing that, or you can just say, nah, I'm good. And you kind of get those choices. And there's a lot of really neat ideas. Like, again, right at the start here, talking to these people, we can do all kinds of things. Let's see, so if I one of your teammates. He's yeah, I love the wit, the comedy, the humor, just the storylines in this one. Like, all these characters, you know, you can just like talk to them and interact with them and get them to do weird things or look the other way, and you can bribe them. And it's nice to have something that is so dialogue driven. So on Xbox One X, this is actually like a really great looking games. Crazy weird looking clouds, beautiful backdrops, a high level of density within the environments. When we get to the area over in a little bit of ways, you're going to be just absolutely blown away by what you're going to be able to see out there. It's crazy. And we're going to kill this lady too, because we betray people. Yeah, and then your reputation matters too. Like, you'll have reputations with the different factions. Well, the corporations. They're all corporations in this world. And yeah, that definitely changes how things are going. So we just gotta talk to our little ship that's got a little bit of a fun to it. So we get in here, and then we're able to chat. For the most part, it does load quite well. So now we're talking to this guy as we left the ship, so he's not really too bright. Kind of funny. So yeah, as I was mentioning, loading screens pretty quick. When you do tend to finish spots and you die or something like that, your checkpoint is typically where you've loaded in. You can, of course, manually save whenever you'd like to, and yeah, it's just kind of like free good choice. And again, I feel so silly for overwriting my saves, but it's just kind of like habitual for me. So as you can see, these are the saves I was using earlier. I was using that one because the other ones are a little bit finished. I finished the main story really quick because I just sort of sped right through it. But there is like such a large solar system that you can go out and explore, and really cool worlds and neat cities. And you know, it's a contained story because it doesn't get too widespread. And maybe my only complaint is that I wanted even more of it. Seriously, it's very well done. I think for the most part it runs quite well too. I will note that as you're moving, and hopefully those do come across, you'll notice little bits of the environment kind of doing like little pop-ins texture-wise, and that has to do with like rocks and stuff in the distance. But for the most part, it loads very well, especially the immediate area around you. You might notice little frame drops here and there, but for the most part, it's just one smooth, great experience, and I really enjoyed it. It's just a lot of fun. The worlds are so filled with depth, and the colors just pop. Like, look at this place. It's just beautiful. Yeah, skill improvements, blah, blah, blah. And then you can look at this map, and it's like, we got this large area. We can go through all these buildings. And you kind of do as you play the world. It sends you going from place to place. But it doesn't annoy you. It doesn't send you on long quests where you have to go out to some place all the way on the other side of the map. You know, you're usually, like, close. Lots of fast travel opportunities. It just, you know, it gives you a sense of freedom if you want it, but you can also just walk through it quickly and enjoy the narrative like I really like to do in games, especially for review wise when you're rushed. But you know, it gives you just really complete and unlimited choice in how you tackle any situation. There are just so few games out there that give you such a sense of freedom. Like in RPG games, you know, we're getting more and more dialogue options, but this one, you can do anything. You can kill anyone. Make sure you do saves. But you can really interact with the world however you'd like. You can steal things. You can hack computers. You can interact with terminals. You can take on challenges or bounties and side quests and meet tons of interesting characters along the way. Like this, even this, just this simple lady at the bar here, you can say all kinds of things to. And you just go on, and you know, you can keep asking them, and you come back. it's just really interesting that there's a game quite like this. I love the Fallout series, you know, Fallout 76, but it takes that concept and it's just basically in space and a little bit more funny and witty and just like a really more polished experience, quite honestly. And I think they knocked it out of the park in terms of creating this funky, weird world that, you know, is corporation run, and it feels kind of realistic in the sense like you're in this colony, the Halcyon, and you're this outlaw guy that's just kind of been thrown into the mix of it. You were in cryo sleep, but they decided to, you know, this one weird wacky scientist guy was like, I need help, and then, you know, you get unfrozen to come out there and assist, and you're thrust into this weird situation and you have to deal with it. And that's really cool. I'm quite excited, you know, just talking about this and playing this game even again right now, going back to this area. It's kind of fun because I know that things could go anywhere. There's so many like defining points where you can completely change the narrative and what's gonna happen in this one. And you can be like a nice guy, you could be an ass, you could really do anything. And it's just kind of funny dealing with these people. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not with the corporation, and they're all like, what? Yeah, so we're gonna have to get a power generator thing, which is like a long quest.
I can't let.
Yeah. And I also like that it gets sort of almost to a meta degree, but in the narrative, what you're thinking about things. There's a good joke about like having to get 3 keys in order to do something. It's like, why would you do that? That's just silly, and it really kind of gets stuff. Yeah, it's very neat. I'm just trying to get through the story, like the dialogue here, so that I can get to more of the exciting things. Yeah.
I appreciate your gallon. I was not.
Yeah, blah 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 blah. Now we need to go over there. We need to deal with somebody. Okay, I'll see what I can do.
My dad? I mean...
Yeah. And this is how we get our first companion, Parvati.
Well, I am glad.
You don't really get romance options, which I believe I kind of mentioned, which is a little disappointing. I mean, you don't need to romance everyone in games, but it is nice to kind of have that sense of, you know, feeling or whatever in the games and more of attachment to characters. But you can go off and do side missions with them, and you can kind of get an idea of who they are and what they do. As you progress and everything like that, which is nice. And they've all got their own thoughts, and then you can talk to them over time. They're very helpful. You get different options for controlling them, as you can see in the bottom left. You can have them be helpful, like being close to you. You can have them... you can just leave them behind, too. You don't have to go with anybody. You get to really, again, choose whatever you want to do. Yeah, this is where the magic happens, alright. Cool character. So we could steal a bunch of her stuff, or we can head out here and keep dealing with new guys. Great, so now we're in the outside area. Kind of seeing how it loads right off the bat there. And again, just like the layering of depth is so crazy in this. Usually you don't get games at quite this scale. So we've got the clouds slowly moving. Then we've got this extreme background over there. Then we've got a slight kind of middle ground, a foreground, and then the immediate area around us. And you can explore, and there's different buildings that you can enter, some you can't enter. There's different creatures. You never know quite what you're going to come across while you are playing this, which is really exciting. Like there's this one creepy house that you can kind of get locked into, and I won't spoil it, but it's really neat because you're like, oh, what do I do? And it's, yeah, it's just a bunch of weird fun side stories if you take the time to go out there and, you know, take it in and explore. That's some of the hacking, you know, go through special doors and stuff to find stuff. And then you can use terminals, and some terminals are open. And I don't know if you're noticing, but I kind of want to go into the shroud mechanic a bit more. So that one's kind of, you get a key, and then you're able to go through areas with a set amount of time without being detected. And then you have to do like a fail check thing if you do get detected after the time runs out. And that's kind of a neat part of it. Again, like just taking this weird, funky world. And the Monarch one is even cooler. So I'm really sorry that it didn't have like a continue thing, because I wanted to show off that map so badly. It's so cool. It's like a sci-fi dream area for me. I love space, I love the sci-fi thing, and I love color in games, and not enough games use color, and this one really just like absolutely is drenched in it, which is fantastic. Just a lot of fun, and I hope I've really kind of covered core elements of the game and the experience so that you get an idea of what this presents. And again, like, I didn't even go over this area last time. It's just like this huge map that you can kind of go anywhere in, talk to people, meet people, gather side quests, go on your own little adventure in space, be the kind of person you want. Again, some huge defining moments narrative wise. Maybe you work more for the corporations, maybe you're somebody that's more of a rebel. You get to choose that. You're not specifically locked into having to deal with anyone. I will mention it might be a bit difficult at times until you really get rolling with your items, but even then it depends on what kind of character class you want to build and what you want to work towards. And even then, you know what, this is a great area actually to show off the game still. It's early, it doesn't miss anything story wise, but it gives you a sense of like the adventure in that. And the other map, the other world, is even more full of depth, quite honestly. Like, you get tons of flora and lively creatures. And everywhere you go has, like, a sort of story. It has characters doing things. I really did enjoy this one. It's not necessarily the perfect RPG, but I think it's really great, and it's fresh, and it feels different from, a lot of the other games out there. I think it stands on its own. They've done a wonderful job in creating a unique, exciting new landscape to explore. Multiple different planets. There's actually quite a number of little locations that you get to visit once you're exploring. So many things to do, but it is more of a self-contained story that you actually can finish, You get more out of it if you go further and you explore additional things, but you don't have to. And I think that's really nice that, they've given us this kind of really cool looking place to explore. And again, apologies for the fact that I can't show off what I wanted to just due to the new save, or the saving and everything like that. That was a big mess up on my part. But yeah, really great. Heavily suggest this one. So cool. And just make whatever kind of character you want and have fun with it. Don't feel binded to be anything or do anything, because you get choices, and make saves before you do so that you can go back if you don't like what you did, or if you want to try a new path. Keep your saves, don't overwrite them like I have a weird bad habit of doing. Yeah, so that is The Outer Worlds on Xbox One X.